just sweep it up when you can.
And I did. And on that note, we're live. Thanks everybody for coming back. Peace and respect. Wildheart, Ox, Gur, Amber, Port Granny, everybody that's here watching, thank you all for coming back for another episode of A History of here at the Pigsty. As always, we've been joined by the wonderful, the charismatic, as I described you earlier on Twitter, Richard Madsen. Richard, for everybody, go on, introduce yourself.
Boring and mundane, but consistent.
A little crazy.
A little bit crazy, I think. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the idea here, if a person doesn't know, is that there is an outsider's view of these stories that does make sense in reality and is not self-defeating in logic.
And if I can also ask, let me know on the audio, new mic settings and stuff. It's going to take me a week or so just to get everything right. So let me know how I'm sounding, if I'm coming through and not cutting out and all that crack. Oh, Trusty Ape podcast just turned up. Hello to them. So, yeah, I will hit the button, unlike last week where I forgot to fucking change it. Now everybody should be able to see where we're reading. I think we were on verse 3. I think we were in verse 5. Richard says we're in verse 3 because he has something that we definitely didn't go over. So, very important it seemed to you, Richard. But if you would like to start.
Well, yeah, even if it's backing up a little bit, it's okay. We haven't skipped huge chunks. I think a lot of standard scholars would say that the beast doesn't literally have 7 heads.
Yes.
That it's talking about some kind of a person, who can like speak English or whatever language.
Mm-hmm.
And that when it's talking about his heads and one of them being wounded to death, it's an aspect of that person, not a head of a dragon or whatever.
So what would you consider being that aspect? That's verse 3 then? Describing
verse 3 there.
Describing the aspect of what they went through.
Yeah. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. They were amazed by him. Of course, all of this past tense, but future tense to this earth.
So they were amazed by the beast or the ability that the person healed it?
The next line is going to be, the next few lines is going to be why they're amazed or what they find amazing about him.
Ah, good.
Okay.
Right.
I don't want to jump ahead.
Nope. Go on ahead. Let the reading. If there's a story, read to the end of the story before I interrupt. Like.
Right.
Well,
I think it's important to stop right here at the end of 3 and say what I think is a reasonable theory as to what this is talking about. If you're going to be the leader of the upcoming new government that has a plan to save the world, despite the fact angels have promised to destroy it, then you need to be things like personable, confident, and we just changed screens twice. Okay.
No, we're grand, don't worry.
Okay. And you need to be, believable. You need to be persuasive. But one of the things about that people require that you're persuasive is that you're not overly emotionally involved in the topic,
mm-hmm.
and that you seem reasonable. That's part of being believable. I think that what it's talking about here, from my personal experience in speaking to whom I think is going to be eventually the beast of Satan, he is not right now, is the story of the death of his love for his family, that his religious experience was so grand that nothing else matters. So you could say something like he was overcome by the Holy Spirit, but this particular spirit only presented itself as holy, and it's actually unholy.
Right. So this that you're describing, the beast is a person. It is what we could we call it the Antichrist?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
This is about the Antichrist, not an Antichrist.
Right. So it's the Antichrist for this planet, right? And you said
Right.
that he had a family and stuff like that, and he's going to lose them, and he doesn't care because his religious experience. So you would say a religious experience leaning towards God, or his religious experience that allowed him to be taken advantage of by the devil?
He perceives it as God, and to him it is God. But if you told me something like I was at the park with Elena and we were having a nice chicken dinner on a blanket, and her mother and I were getting along well for the child,
Mm-hmm.
etc., and we're all doing smashingly. But out of nowhere, you become extremely distracted, and you look around the park, and everything has turned to plastic, like it's semi see-through. And to you, that means that it's all fake and none of it matters. And then you don't know how long you're standing there experiencing that, but eventually you look down at the woman and the child, and they are plastic too. And although they're writhing on the ground, confused and upset that you've been standing there so long
Mm-hmm.
that they don't know what to do anymore. And that doesn't matter to you.
Sounds very explicit. That sounds like something that's going to happen or has happened, or that's a very
This is the
specific
story.
story.
That's the story he told me.
So that's the story. For context, for the people in the audience that don't know, you have experienced what you believe a meeting with the Antichrist. You thumbed a lift or something. He gave you a lift or something sometime.
Yeah.
Yes.
They gave me a ride
Yes. So you've
for about
experienced and talked
45
to him,
minutes.
and that's the experience that he told to you that he went through, that
Yes.
separated him from his family.
Yes. He immediately after that, as soon as they got home from their little vacation slash, what do you call a large public speaking where someone just does a monologue? What do you call that?
A monologue?
Anyway. Yeah, well, a monologue, yeah. But like you have a person who's hired to give a monologue in front of a large audience. He paid to attend one of those. And the picnic was during one of those days
Mm-hmm.
that he had paid for. His family wasn't going because, well, they have children. And the woman was taking care of the children while he was attending this, I don't know, large group meeting pay for thing. Like they sell tickets to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dinner in the park during one of those days that this happened to him. I mean, after paying, I can't recall the exact amount, but I know it was more than $200 for like a 3-day thing.
Seminar.
Seminar, that's a good word for it. Yeah, that's a good word. Thank you. That he found himself ignoring everything the guy was saying on stage and really not caring, because he'd been to so many of them that he'd just been disenchanted by them, and he no longer could pay attention. But he really, really wanted a spiritual experience. That was the whole point of him attending all these seminars from all these different religions over the course of his entire adult life since college.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he had the money, he started doing this. And he'd been to, I don't know, more than like 15 of them, like a lot of them. And the woman was good enough to put up with this, although she wasn't a spiritually led person,
But then shortly after that, it came to their breaking up.
Yeah, he as soon as he had that experience and had the quote unquote realization that all of reality is fake and none of it matters, and the only thing that matters is his experience of his God. When they got back home, he started looking at the books in a new way and started like spending all his, I mean, not kissing the woman, but in his study for weeks and weeks at a time, and only came out for, sleep and bathroom breaks and food and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even go to work. He lost his job. He didn't care about that at all. One day he comes out of the office to find that all the furniture is gone, as well as the woman and children. And that was fine with him. She left him a couch and a sleeping bag and a pillow.
How long was this journey that you went for? Like this lift that he gave you?
About 45 minutes.
Okay.
Well, I was scared to death of him, you know, because he perfectly fit the description that someone had given me for what the beast of Satan is and what he looks like. And I mean like a 2-hour description of the guy.
That particular person being the being that you speak to.
No, it was a Native American woman who I thought was flaky and probably full of crap, but turns out she wasn't. Yeah, she spent 2 hours in great detail telling me about what this guy, what he preferred, what kind of clothes, what style, his body weight, his like dimensions. Was he muscular? Was he skinny? All that, like on and on, skin tone, length of eyelashes, like she described the guy. So then 3 weeks after that, and he's still hitting the books hard, and he doesn't really care. He's lost everything, and he's put the house up for sale. One night he's going to sleep, and as he's fading off to sleep, he starts hearing screaming of small children, like multiple small children. And he realized in that moment that the house beside his house was also for sale. And he decided that some psychopath had stowed away 40 children in the basement of this house or something and chose that moment to murder them all simultaneously.
And this happened, or he thought that this was happening?
To his I'm telling it from his perception as he told it to me. So he gets up and runs next door, and not wanting anyone to see him crush in the front door, he runs around back and he smashes. He's a pretty good, sturdy guy. Just smashes in the back door and enters in the house. He spends something between like 12 and 15, maybe a little bit more minutes searching the house for these screaming children. Even to the point where he said he was like going into closets and looking for false walls in the backs of closets and stuff like that. But he can't find anything that's a secret room or something, right? So he goes back outside, and this is in West Virginia. So almost every house is built on a slant, and almost every house has a basement. He figures there's a basement. He goes outside looking for, a basement door in the foundation of the building. Can't find one. Goes back inside looking for more hidden doors that could lead to a basement. Can't find anything. And then it dawns on him that he's the only one that can hear it. It's not physical in reality. So he goes back to his house and he lays down. But that doesn't stop the children from screaming. They continue to scream blue bloody murder for 3 continuous days without ceasing. So he's just listening to children being murdered for 3 days. And he's okay with that because he knows that's Satan messing with him because he's on the right path.
He's not, doesn't sound right in the head, but okay.
Oh, I don't think he's sane at all. I think he's absolutely crazy.
Right.
I mean, even if I compare him to myself, in my experience, he's freaking out there.
Just wondering how the conversation. My mind is still trying to get upon the point of how this conversation came up. Because if you're in the car with 45 minutes,
I started it, which was not an easy thing to do. I gave him permission, and he just diarrhea of the mouth for the next 35, 40 minutes, whatever it was.
Hi, you look like the Antichrist.
Told me the whole thing.
Want to tell me why? And he just...
Why you're the Antichrist? Yeah, that's how I approached it. And he says, no, you need a ride. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Morgantown. He goes, I'm going to Morgantown. That's amazing. I'll give you a lift. I said, great. I mean, it was all I could do to control myself and try to like sound normal while my brain's freaking out because what I'm looking at, because of the description I got before that. Of course, he doesn't know me from Adam, so he's not suspicious of me. I'm just some guy hitchhiking, So I sit down and I go, hey, yeah, thanks for the ride, man. Really appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. What are you into? And he said some religious sounding things. I said, me too. I'm super into religion all of a sudden. it just happened to me a couple weeks ago. Tell me about your religious experiences and stuff. Like, testify to me. He did.
Right.
And that's, to the best of my recollection, what I'm telling you is his religious experience.
So, sorry, kids screaming for 3 days.
Yeah, kids screaming for 3 days. Finally, they stopped. Not because of anything he did. They just stopped. He's selling the house. He got rid of the big family car. He's driving something very, very small and practical, an economy car, and they were apparently pretty successful. I mean, apparently had a pretty nice house, nice cars and stuff. Anyway, I don't know what she did for a living or does. Yep. I don't even know. So then, so he's extremely committed to this religious experience where he was literally overwhelmed in the spirit. But he lost his love of people, including you, including me, including his wife and his own blood, his own kin. And all that he cared about after that was his experience of his God. And that is what he's driven toward. Which is really interesting. Some of the repercussions of that is that he believes that that all the religions are valid, which is something that I believe, and that they're all saying the same thing, and that it's about us fixing ourselves through spiritual guidance from God, and us saving the planet due to spiritual experience of God.
Now, does he believe similarly to you? And I know you can't go and ask him, but during this conversation with him, did it come across similarly to you that he thought God was an alien?
I don't think his God, he believes, has physicality.
So he would be of the traditional Christian form.
Yeah. Some kind of ethereal mind in some other state of existence, not this universe, something like that.
But you think that whenever the devil arrives, he will accept him as God?
Yeah, that's the really weird part. I mean, if someone was like communicating to you through, I don't know, hard copy, what do they call it? Snail mail. And you were pen pals, right? You might have ideas about them, what they look like, or you might have a perception of a face that you've never seen. But if they came to you and introduced themselves and they gave the evidence, hey, remember the time that you wrote me this personal thing?
Yeah.
I know this personal thing about you. And you remember how I wrote this personal thing, and you remember that? I'm that guy. I don't care if I'm something different than you thought. And you would just accept that that's who it is because they gave you the evidence for it.
Well, I wouldn't just instantly accept it. I'd suddenly look at this person and wonder if they'd kidnapped the person I was in a pen pal with. Because if the person I'm in a pen pal with had described what they looked like, and another person turned up completely different to the description I would given, then it would be either this cunt's a liar, or the person I was talking to is a liar. Regardless, this person has lied to me. That's what I get from that.
That's good skepticism. That's real solid. and there's, no, it is. And there's not much in the text about their meeting. It just says they meet. And it doesn't give any detail. So I'm only talking about human nature. And so I don't know how he comes to accept Satan and that is his God and that's okay. I don't know how.
Right, so that's what happened to him, and that's why he's fallen, the Antichrist or whatever, and all this.
But he's handsome. He's totally acceptable. He's very intelligent and personable and well spoken. He's in good shape, better shape than me. He's like a good height, like about 6'1", like a really nice, preferable height, not too tall, not too short. I'm kind of short.
You're picking on all the short people.
Well, there's a lot of us, but I mean, he's just very acceptable. You know, he's a nice dresser. He keeps himself nice and clean, shaven and trimmed and everything. You know.
So verse 4, they worshipped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. Then they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? So
right.
Would you say that
they're admirers of the power?
So they're sheep, they line up, this boy's in charge, we're going to line up. And they're all screaming, this boy's the best, who can beat him up?
Right. So that's power over love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's sick. Might does not make right, but these people look at him like might makes right.
Some people are, yeah.
It's that kind of people, yeah.
And was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. Right. Now, he's seeking
3.5 years.
He's seeking blasphemies against what you would refer to as the Father.
The Father, angels, heaven, the whole deal.
Right.
And I think mostly is going to refer to the traditional ideas about religion and take advantage of people's already present schisms.
Right. So this is what I'm asking, right? This person who is religious, this person who is under the belief that the devil, as you refer to him, is God, right?
Right.
So he's saying blasphemies against what you would refer to as the Father. But this guy is under the belief that this person's God, like, you know, he's going forth saying God. Yes. And as we discussed last week.
Which means the Father can't be.
So, as we discussed last week, he again will be only one of these people going forward proclaiming that he knows God.
Well, he'll be the effective one because lots of people will be claiming that.
You think lots of people will prophesize this devil will be the God?
Sure. Everything the Bible calls an antichrist. Speaking against Jesus, speaking against the Father, speaking against angels, against heaven, sounding really believable and practical.
So all these people are going to line up and move from the ethereal thought of God and line up with this guy because he said, I seen God, and he's very charismatic and all the rest of it. He's handsome and everything, so everybody lines up with him.
Well, not only that, yes, that, but not only that, traditional skeptical thinkers and traditional non-thinking religious folks will all reject heaven on its arrival, even if they do meet things that look like angels. I imagine, and this is speculation, but I imagine the beast of Satan saying things like, well, you're not God. Wouldn't you expect God to be a little bit different from you? Look, this thing is brilliant and powerful and a little bit different from you. How do you know that's... No, I would never say, how do you know that's not God? But he'd be smarter about it. He'd say, this is obviously God.
So he's going to say that the aliens coming and ripping us apart aren't God.
Right.
Right. Are the aliens not also going to say that?
Of course.
So I don't see... Yeah, I don't see... The only person proclaiming that they think they're God is this bad guy. Same question I asked you last week. This is why I think we did go over this. But, you know, the aliens themselves aren't saying they're God.
Well, one alien will proclaim himself God. That's Satan.
Yes. So
I guess I'm not getting the point. Sorry, you're gonna have to use.
I'm trying to reword it so you do get it, right? Okay, you have a guy running around saying these people aren't a such and a such a thing. Come to me, and you've got them other people going, yeah, no, we never claimed to be that.
Right.
You know, we are what we are, and this is what we're putting forth.
So the angels will be agreeing with the assertions of the demons and the devil.
Yes,
that when you worship an angel, you are wrong. You shouldn't worship an angel or Jesus or the Father because they are not God. And they'll be telling the truth. The angels will be telling the truth.
Yes, I'm saying is the bad guys and the good guys are all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't see an issue with that?
Of course I see an issue with that. It's going to be very difficult for people. But Satan is not stupid. And the angels won't lie.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's going to be tough.
So it's just going to come down to a choice of whether people decide to go with what they think is God or the aliens.
Joe, it's going to come down to, are you a skeptic? Or are you a cynic? That's what it'll come down to. Do you think you can think, or can you really think?
That's such a long... what does... Unpack that statement and explain what you mean by that.
Anything can be persuasive if a good argument is made for it. That doesn't make it true.
Yeah.
When Christ says to the woman, you're a dog, why should I give you anything, even scraps off? She says, but even the dog gets scraps off the master's table. That's because she already saw angels. She already refused heaven. She already passed measurement. All this has already happened.
Right. Okay, the point I'm trying to put
and now he's skeptical of what she believes, and he needs to test her. So you can't go to heaven under the pretense of a lie. That's not okay.
They're not going to call it heaven. We've agreed that they're going to call it something else.
They call it home.
If I've got a group of beings that are taking over the world, telling me that they're not God, but if I come and do what they ask, I will get a life and a spaceship. And then I've got this other group of people over here saying they're aliens, but this is God. And what do you get with God? You get all these promises.
Save the earth. That's what you get.
You get what?
Save the earth. That's the reward.
Saving the earth.
I mean, the beast of Satan will literally be able to say things like, I really like you. Would you like to run France?
No.
Like, he'll be the world dude, able to offer things like that and mean it.
And where would this power come from?
The beast is empowered by the dragon, Satan.
You're saying he's empowered by them, right? It's just another alien arriving. Has this alien arrived and chatted with the people on our planet and say the governments and said, look, this aliens that are trying to take you over, I've been trying to stop them. I'm the fucking space cops, and these are bad people. I'm on your
side, yeah.
I'm on your side. Do what I say, and we'll try and save the earth. Is that what you're trying to say?
Right on. That's it. You got it.
Right.
That's scary as hell.
It's scary as hell because of your idea of it. Now, considering from my point of view that I see these people as arrogant, self-centered, fucking pricks that think they're better than what they are, I have described them not by using the word criminal before, but I have used connotations and words that you could use to describe criminals.
Sure, you have, and justly so.
So what?
Understandable.
What makes them, in your opinion, definitely the good guys? If everything they do comes across as bad, to the point where you've got someone coming to try and stop them,
Yeah.
I'd align with the guy that says we're going to save the earth and stop these people from coming. Well, no, that's not true. I really want my spaceship. Spaceship!
It's hard. I want the spaceship. I want to be an explorer of that great beyond. I do. It sounds extremely attractive to me.
I still don't believe that they'll give it to you, though. I think that's a fucking lie.
Fair enough.
But
okay.
How do you know that these people then... You're making this guy the Antichrist because he's against...
By the way, I want to say that your summation was brilliant, and I was impressed.
Which one's that?
The Satan and his crew will be saying, look, we're like galaxy defenders, and we want you to be independent and on your own and save the planet. These guys are trying to destroy the planet. That's why they're wrong. They're trying to abscond with you. They're trying to steal you away from where you belong.
Yeah,
that's a great summation.
That's also Independence Day resurgence.
Why do you... Okay, in my belief system, there's really good reason for these movies to be here. It's
Yeah,
not coincidental.
Just to say, in Independence Resurgence, your aliens are the bad guys.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, this is the work of the
Of
devil.
course they would be.
According to you, the devil's not here yet.
Well, not physically any of them here yet.
Yes, but the devil arrives after them. So who's influencing these movies is what I'm asking. Like,
that's what I'm saying. That negative, evil forces are trying to at least present a pre-idea of what they're going to present later.
man, we are in the technology and the idea and the social status of where we are, where we believe aliens are out there. We also have good aliens and bad aliens. That's the dichotomy that has to be out there. And Earth always wins against the bad guys. In the first movie,
right. We
blew them up. Turns out they were a part of a bigger ship. They were that small planet, and heaven arrived in the resurgence. And then a little one ship arrived, said that they could help everyone, and we've got all these group of people. It's a plausible idea in our society now. You don't need an influence to say that.
But I do believe that people pray all the time accidentally. They don't call it prayer. They call it thinking about stuff.
Come on.
I'm quite serious.
Thinking about stuff is prayer.
Look, if I don't know anything, I do know me. And I do know my personality type and what I do and don't value. And I should never have things that I find disgusting. And I should never have things that I know aren't true come into my mind, and I'm sitting there thinking about it. I don't like that stuff. I don't want that stuff. If that is what I do to me, I am the most self-defeating, self-deprecating, self-hating. Oh my gosh, I'm sick.
No, you're just human, man. This is creativity.
See, you're making excuses for it.
I'm making excuses for it. No, we all have twisted evil thoughts inside our head sometimes that we don't want.
That's my point, yeah.
That everybody has them.
I know.
But the point is you're making yours special.
No. I don't think it's special.
Everybody has moments, where they think the worst of themselves. Everybody double checks what they do and stuff like that. Sure. And coming up with a new idea, it's called creativity. Look at the 70s. Look at fucking the Doors and Jimi Hendrix smoking weed and taking drugs and just random firing in different directions, and they come up with stuff. It doesn't mean
that's all justifiable. That is all justifiable.
I'm just saying, your brain randomly thinking something is called creativity, not alien voices.
Tell me how I hate me and love me simultaneously.
How can you hate yourself and love yourself at the same time?
Yeah.
I can't tell you, man, because I struggle with that every day.
Yeah.
I don't hear aliens, though.
I know you don't think it's alien.
It's human.
Literally alien.
It's human.
That doesn't make any sense.
It is a natural feeling for people to hate themselves and love themselves. It is called growing up and adulthood and maturity. Finding a balance between knowing what you do wrong, knowing what makes you a good person, and trying to be better.
I'm not arguing whether or not we experience this. I mean, Chuck Jones put a devil on one shoulder of Daffy Duck and an angel on the other. Yes, we experience this. And is it internal? Everything is perceived internally. There's nothing outside of you perceptually.
What I'm asking.
There is no microphone. There is no microphone. There's only your perception of a microphone. So, but it doesn't make sense that I'm self-absorbed and I'm narcissistic to some extent, and that I really like me. And we know that's true because when other people imitate us, we respond favorably. We love us. All of us do. But how can we love us and hate us simultaneously? That doesn't make a bit of sense.
It's not, man, it is emotional beings. that we are emotional creatures. We go through bouts of both hating ourselves and loving ourselves. We can do that. We can at the same time both exist in loving oneself and hating oneself. As I said,
Experientially, that's true.
yeah. I don't know what the point you're trying to make is, or the
I
connection you're
know,
trying to
and
make with aliens.
I'm not good at explaining it. I'm
Okay,
not.
keep going. Just keep going, and we'll get there.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure using more words would help. Um,
Why is what I'm describing, what you experience, an alien thing, where what I experience and I describe as human, you call alien?
I know me.
Yeah.
I can't lie to me about me.
People lie to themselves all the time.
I know what my preferences are.
Yeah.
For instance, I like a good lasagna, and I like sex with people I'm attracted to, and I like physical pleasure, and I like good food, and I like cigarettes, and I know what I like.
Yeah.
I know what I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like being physically injured. I don't like someone making fun of me. I don't like someone lying to me and being unfair. I know what I do and don't like.
Mm-hmm.
When I see something in my mind outside of my personality range, the only reason I should accept that as part of me, which people normally do, and we do experience that all the time, is because it's internal.
So we know everybody, as I have described and used metaphorically, I got a demon inside me. Like there's parts of my personality that I am aware of that I do not like and know that are wrong.
Okay.
But I
Well, that's how we experience it. I know.
You accept them and you incorporate them into yourself. And being aware of your full self and not denying them evil sides of ourselves, because everybody has a dark, evil fucking demon inside them at points. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is, as you would think, Jesus. You know?
Tell me what would happen if you, even to the point of obsession, you concentrated only on the positive things and the positive thoughts, and you always tried to do the right thing as best as you could tell, to treat yourself and others the best way that you know how to treat a human. What would happen?
I'd end up thinking that everybody is fake and that nobody actually gives a shit when they say thank you.
What? That's assuming the worst. Why did you switch the paradigm?
You asked me a direct question, man, and I
said if you assume the best about yourself and others,
right,
and you acted that way all the time,
as I try to do,
as you do try to do, the result would be that your life would be acceptable, that people would like you, that they would understand that you care about them and they would care for you. Yeah. Now let's take the flip side of it. What if you obsessed about?
Hold on, you haven't
obsessed about the negative thoughts.
You haven't let me answer. Like you asked me, and this is literally my existence, man. I try my best to do the best for everyone around me and help out as best I can. And I feel fake. I don't feel like a person because sometimes there's things inside me that are fucking evil. Sometimes I want to punch that motherfucker in the face, but I know if we sit down and talk, it's the best thing. But that seems to me fake then, because I really wanted to punch that motherfucker in the face and just shut him up.
Fair
but
enough.
It's best for the situation to sit down and talk to him. So that living a life like that gives me a consistency of feeling fake.
By the way, I'm right here and I can hear you and I know what you're talking about.
Am I raising my voice? Sorry, good Mike.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. I was as if you were speaking to me like you want to punch me. It was a joke. And you're like, you want to punch me right now.
No, maybe it's just you asked me a question, I give you an answer, and you denied it because my answer was real and honest and not what you wanted to hear.
No. It's not why I denied it. It's because you didn't answer the question. I was going to come to that part.
Right.
That was next.
Right.
You just jumped ahead because you're smart and you jump ahead instead of being patient with me as I need. Okay? The opposite side of that, and then the reality somewhere in the middle, which is what you went over, the reality, the middle part. That's great. And I'm not even going to cover it. You covered it so well. But what if you obsessed on only the negative thoughts, the negative parts of your own personal aspects, things that go on in your mind, and you followed that? What would happen to your life?
I would probably have a lot more peace, and I would get things that would make me personally happy. and I would become a selfish person.
Until, if you would not agree with this, until such point that people figured out that's what you were doing, and they no longer put up with it, and they've just shunned you 100%.
Gone.
Everybody.
Self-centered, selfish person.
Right. Okay. So it is not one good and the other evil, and you try to follow the good, but some people can't help but obsess on the evil and become evil.
It's not
and
an
they
obsession
do things
on me.
like,
I feel that being nicer takes work.
I don't mean obsession like it's a negative thing. I mean literal obsession. That you feel that's the most important thing, and it's the right thing to do, and you do it. And that is the most important things that you can do, and I agree. That's a healthy obsession. But I've seen people go the other way with it and concentrate too much on the negative. And you know where I find them? On the street corner yelling at nobody. And by the way, that's all that's wrong with them. They like used to be productive people in society. They didn't no traumatic brain injury, no extreme drug use, no nothing. But they're obsessed with the negative. And of course, most of us, our experience is somewhere in the middle, as you described.
I don't know. I disagree with that to a certain point.
Okay.
I really do.
There's two theories of it. I'm dichotomous, and I both love and hate myself. Or I have influences from outside of me, which I accept. I mean, Halsonic Kaju was just going over the ladder of reasoning.
Seen that.
And how we actually do it. And I think that's pretty accurate, if not correct. And then that is what we do. And then we act on what we perceive as reality. And that influences ourselves, other persons, our work life, personal life, the whole thing. And it's when a person is thinking about something poorly and accepting things that aren't true that they become maladjust. But everything that is not my internal perception of the objective reality, which my perception of it is subjective. I mean, I have no choice about that. It's all perceived internally. There's nothing external to me. So, of course, I would perceive the accuser of man accusing man to himself as me. I can't help it.
I still haven't made the connection why what you experience of love and hate is an alien thing and not a human evolution, something that we experience and all of us go through.
Well, it is a result of a naturalistic evolutionary process of some kind. What it is exactly, we haven't figured that out. That's okay. It is a natural result of that we have these perceptions of reality around us, which we internalize. Yeah, we do that.
Why is yours alien? You said that it was alien and that I was missing the point, and I'm wondering
that it does things outside of my personality range.
But you said
that it has it has information I don't have.
You know who you are, and you know what you like, and you know what's best, and all the rest of it. And every now and again, you get something which you would perceive as outside your personality. A lot of people experience that, and I say that that's a human evolutionary thing, and you're saying that it's an alien thing, and I'm wondering where the connection is. I still haven't made that.
You wouldn't know the difference between those two. You wouldn't know, since you perceive all things internally, whether it's internal or external, because you can't perceive it other than internally. Everything. Like, if you put your hand in a machine and it damages your hand doesn't hurt. Not in the least. Your hand doesn't have the ability to experience pain.
But that's not...
Your brain perceives that your hand is hurting.
Right. I would say that that's down to, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it from a psychologist or whatever word I'm using for it. Like, but I would, like, Pork Granny's in the chat. I cut the top off my fucking finger with a hedge trimmer. And I was tidying the house and sorting my keys and stuff with blood squirting everywhere. And I was like, well, if we're going to the hospital, I need to close the window so the dog doesn't escape. And I walked around and said, you all right? I'm fine. I have it wrapped. It's been washed. We'll get to the hospital when we get there. I don't think I'm special because I looked at it and went, this isn't hurting. I just think that I have, an ability to just, right, compartmentalize shit. I didn't allow my brain to feel the screaming agony that, say, my 5-year-old would feel. Because it's like, right, this is happening. We need to deal with it. Move on.
Right. I want to be reasonable about the way that I deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, like the neighbours and fucking Poor Granny was shouting and I'm in the living room going, hold on, need to do the windows. Close the window.
Well, the opposite of that is to run in circles where no one can take you to the hospital while you bleed out. Yeah, so I agree with you. But my point is not whether or not you can be practical in extreme circumstances. Of course you can if you're reasonable. Hopefully in some kind of an adult, whatever that means. But what I'm saying is that your internal experience of all things external is completely subjective and personal, and you have no choice about it. So even in external inputs, you still have a personal experience of that. And when something happens in your mind, you have no choice but to say that thing I'm experiencing is in my mind, thereby it's my mind. Until it relates to you something outside of your knowledge range, outside of your possible experience, outside of your personality range, which, well, I think the very new science of psychology is not refined enough yet. And I don't want to experiment too much into that. But I have to at least say that all of my experience is internal and I have no choice about it. If you read to me Dr. Seuss, I'm not experiencing what you are reading it, nor Dr. Seuss when writing it. It's a different thing. It's me. It's imagining all in me.
Yes, you're imagining it. I like everybody that reads a book has a different interpretation of what that person looks like, even though the fucking description is right there. I get what you're trying to say. It's an internal experience. Right. But that doesn't mean that you can't control your internal experience. Look at the Buddhist monks that go up into the mountains and fucking sit there in a pair of shorts and at minus fucking 40 degrees. I say minus 40 degrees so I don't have to say Fahrenheit or centigrade. But don't bugs.
Cold.
Yeah. And they're just sitting there and nothing wrong with them. They've done studies on what's known as the Iceman, and he has shown other people and the ability to do this, and it comes down to physical training and all. Pardon?
Russian, Slovakian, where's
something like that? Yeah, he can lower his heart rate, and has shown the ability to. And I don't want to like steal a phrase or whatever, but you control your mind. Your mind controls your body.
Yeah.
And there's ability to do
that. No, wait, that's flawed. Your mind controls your brain, controls your body.
Something along those lines, whatever it is. Let's not be fucking pedantic like Wildheart, I
just wanted you to get you to agree to that before we moved on. That's all.
No, but in saying that, you and him had a conversation on his channel the other night, and me and you have had this conversation on this channel on the Tuesday nights a few weeks ago. It was very similar, and the only thing that is coming down to, sorry for talking so fast, is the ability that you discern that this knowledge came from outside you, and it's no way. Now, Wildheart was trying to put forth what I also did was the subconscious. I think I did a little bit better.
That was too Irish. I missed like half that. It was too fast. The words ran together. I lost track and couldn't keep context. Could you start that over?
Poor Granny knew what I was saying.
I'll bet she did. She's at an advantage I don't have.
You and Wildheart had a discussion on it basically boils down to the fact that you are adamant that these things that you found out after your experience were purely from the experience and not from your subconscious or early knowledge that you had already came across in a different way. You know, walked past in a window and seen something or whatever, or went to a planetarium as a child or something like that. And you were saying that the only way, and your confirmation of this is because the information has been solidified and validated and confirmed true. So someone told you that there can be a fucking square circle. You then went and drew a square circle, you know? Information that nobody else ever had. No, I'm just trying to make an example. Information that no one else ever had, no one else could figure out. You were validated on it because there's no way you could have known it. That's your confirmation of that it came from aliens.
Well, that it came from some intellect, not me, who's not here locally.
Okay, you believe in aliens, man. Let's not fight about a surreal fucking spirit. You believe it came from aliens.
But it's as simple as this. You get out of your car at the grocery store that you prefer, right? And what's under the dumpster on the other side of the supermarket that you've never looked under? What's under it?
Don't know.
Right, you can't.
But you can take a guess off feeling. You can give
You should be statistically, you should be mostly wrong.
Statistically, you could be mostly wrong.
No, you should be mostly wrong.
Right, but we've all done things and guessed things, and you know who it is when the phone rings and stuff like that. There is heightened perceptions in our subconscious, and our brain makes connections that we don't. And I will be genuinely honest, man. I have contacted a friend of mine who I would consider, when they lived here, one of my absolute best friends of all time. Right. From Warren Point, Port Granny met her, we'll just call her Kaylee, right? She now lives in Scotland. She has a family and kids and all the rest of it. Recently just had her first child, which is fantastic. She's also the godmother to Elena, right? That's how close we are. And I don't even do that religious bullshit.
What's still important, so should there be an accident and you suffer death, someone should be...
No, they'll end up with a grandparent or someone else. The point I'm making is, I go for bouts where we don't speak. 2-3 months don't speak. Maybe Elena has a birthday, I'll send her pictures or something like that, and all the rest of it. And randomly, out of the blue, I text her and I goes, is everything all right? And she was like, she had recently had something happen and she was in need of support and hadn't told anyone. And I'm not going to say I'm in tune or this, that, or whatever and all the rest of it. But, there is incidences where people experience moments like that.
Yes.
Poor Granny will fight to the fucking teeth that she knows if anything goes wrong with me. But I think it's a statistical thing as a mother, because you ring 20 times a day. Of course, one of them times you ring, something's going to be wrong. It's just a statistical thing. But there is instances where people have experienced this. Personally, myself, I have.
Sure. I think you can't get to... I think if you're an average human, or something around what would be considered median, top of the bell, top 2/3 of the bell curve or whatever, of someone who's done that, you have experienced it yourself.
So you believe that I was given information from aliens, not that I was leaning even, let's say spiritually, or leaning towards empathic or scientific, or fucking telepathic or telekinesis, Kyle, or whatever you want to call it.
That's all different ways of saying the same thing.
No. I would say that if I was telepathic and can mentally connect with someone else, that's nothing to do with aliens. I could lean against human evolution in sci-fi movies.
It's the same thing. How do you think my theory works that angels can communicate with you? It's because they're the same animal with the same abilities.
No, I don't necessarily believe that. Not that I've ever thought about this in great detail, but I always assumed when that person was talking to you that they're sitting down at a brain phone. Like, that person can be sitting down at a piece of technology. As you have said, they understand and they have the ability to transfer our brain from one body wirelessly to another. So if they have that technology, they would have the technology to be able to beam into our minds. I don't necessarily believe that they are telepathic I would it
It,
was
it,
always just with that little thought I give it,
it,
thought
it
that they're a
could
phone.
be. I mean, we do have electromagnetic signals in our brains that we generate and accept, and that's part of our cognitive function. And you can put high pressure or energy behind like radio signal, laser, gravity waves. If you could do that, I mean, it's logically plausible. And if that's how they're communicating, fine.
Yes, but what I'm saying is on this earth, using spiritualism and telekinesis as a reason for what that was, it probably was just a coincidence. When I
What was the
contacted that
coincidence?
when I contacted that person and they were looking support at the time and I hadn't
Let's look
spoken.
at it. Let's look at that critically. Do you feel that way on a regular basis?
Sometimes, yes.
That's
I think
that
that's
doesn't
growing up
answer.
with. What do you mean?
I asked you if it's a regular basis that you feel that way about any given person, that there is something quote unquote wrong.
Regularly to a certain point of 2 or 3 times a year before I start sounding all woo and shit like that. Yes, I would have feelings where I would need to reach out and connect with people or things like that, or I know something's going on or whatever. I haven't, I don't think it's anything to do with aliens or psychology or anything like that. I'm aware
You're
that I have.
jumping way ahead.
That's what you asked me.
I know, but you're answering more than what I'm asking, like a
Okay.
lot more. You're doing a Matt Dillahunty.
I'm just trying to
Don't
be
please don't do
concise in
that.
my answers. I apologize if I come across like that.
Well, just don't jump ahead because I have like a logical progression trying to go through. I said let's look at it skeptically, not
Right.
let's look at it colloquially.
Okay. Go with your questions.
Okay. The people that you're concerned with sometimes are they just living miserable existences where they're just tortured constantly and you'd be statistically likely to say, oh, this friend of mine's an alcoholic. He's probably got a hangover right now because it's morning. I feel sorry that he probably has a hangover. I'm going to say, hey, are you okay? Do you have a hangover? Well, he's an alcoholic. Of course he does.
No, nothing like that. To the point where it would make
Okay.
me go, ooh.
Okay. Because I know a medical professional who uses this to diagnose people and she's always right. Okay. And it's not in her medical training.
So a medical
It's just not
dose,
there.
okay, a medical diagnosis that she's always right on, but not trained for.
It's not trained on. It's not
What is the diagnosis of?
all sorts of different conditions. This is going to be off topic. I should stop that.
Oh no, go
I'm
on,
sorry, it's
ask
gonna
your
be off
questions.
topic. Well, it's on topic, but it's going to be a distraction.
Doesn't matter. We have another half hour to go,
Like-
and we barely
like
go any through this.
For instance, wake up after seeing a patient, not having any clue what's wrong with them. Wake up in the middle of the night with a sudden realization, call it an epiphany, call it their subconscious was working on it, call it whatever you like. Next time they see the patient or even scheduled to see the patient, says it's this, let's test for this. Or more guarded than that, more hedged than that, saying let's test for this thing. But they already know it's going to come back positive, and they're always right. It comes back positive for exactly that dysfunction.
Right. Now that would align. May I?
Mm.
That would align where, as you know, my original name, Magic Experiences that I've never yet to explain and all that shit. So these are the incidences and things like this that I've experienced. And I've had, what people could describe as prophetic dreams or, what do you call it with a black cat? You see the black cat again. Deja vu.
Yeah.
Right? And then I know what's going to happen after the deja vu. But then I say something and then that thing happens. And then in my mind, I've controlled what happened. And I made up in my mind the deja vu. And I made the thing that I thought happened by mentioning it.
There's a way to defeat that. When it first happens, go ahead and write it down. Annotate the time, exactly what it was. Write it down.
From a personal status, I try not to dream. I smoke an awful lot of weed. It helps me not to dream. And over the last year, maybe 2 years, my dreams have not been nice to me. So it's better for me not to remember most of my dreams rather than for the few that I do remember and would consider that.
Mm-hmm. And my dreams.
You're gonna have to entertain everybody because I
are
left my
empty
cigarettes in the car. So you're gonna have to sing for everybody for a minute.
as my conscience seems to be. I have hours only lonely. Should I cheat a little bit? Well, I can't defend himself. I'll just talk about what I'm asserting here. That because all things are internalized and we can't perceive something externalized, that's just impossible. Anything that you experience is internalized. But the likelihood of you guessing things that are unpredictable, such as what's on the other side of the grocery store, what kind of trash is under the dumpster, or what kind of animals might live there, the chances of you being right about that is, well, it's statistically the chances of you being right about that. Let's say something like, okay, the grocery store sells groceries. There's a piece of some kind of fruit or vegetable near the dumpster. You'd be very likely with something that vague. However, if you say, if what comes to you is the thought process that's more like, there's one avocado pit, 52 orange seeds, 325 tomato seeds, and then you have the dump truck come, the garbage truck come pick it up, and you count those, and that's what's there, and that's what's exactly there, and there's nothing missing from what you thought is there. The chances of you coming to something like that is minuscule, to say the least.
Necessarily.
What if it's the information is valid, you falsify it against reality, the information is true, and you think you guessed it? Well, there's multiple points.
Right, you're going to shout.
It's extremely unlikely.
You're going to shout at me for my answer, right? You probably will call me MathPig from now on, but I don't care, man. Have you seen the fucking Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman? Pencils on the ground. Have you seen Mercury Rising? You know, these are movies that take an exaggeration of autism and things like that.
Pencils.
Pardon?
They were right there in front of him. He wasn't guessing. He counted the pencils.
Yes, but what I'm
It was toothpicks, by the way.
Toothpicks. Okay, right. The point I'm making is that our brains can go. Fucking John Hudson. That's some Rain Man shit right there. He must have been just thinking the same thing. The brain in our subconscious specifically has the ability to do shit we can't understand yet. We are not at that technology level where we can understand this, right? You've got autism and people.
Good. We're honestly claiming ignorance. Good.
Hyper aware, but there is people who are hyper aware of a lot of things around them.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know, has anyone ever watched the Librarian series? I know Richard hasn't, but there's a particular person in that. Okay, she's got a tumor, right? But it gives her the ability. The tumor causes visual hallucinations, but she's very, very good at mathematics, and she can probability and use, you know, statistics to know the future. She brings it up in front of her, and it's all a big, beautiful thing, and all the rest of it. But that's the visual.
Yeah. Why is this a sci-fi movie?
This is a series, actually.
A sci-fi series?
It doesn't matter because they go seek magical, and they go and look for magic stuff and try and save it from the bad guys. I'm just using this person as an example that with mathematics and with the ability to control them, she used it to, you know, probabilistically know some things. And our subconscious have the ability to do that. And just because I have felt this or whatever and all the rest of it, I'm aware of, you know, my brain might be a wee bit not right and shit like that. I could be just hyper aware. I don't think it's alien.
You know this is assuming the consequent, right? And this is logically fallacious. Absolutely everything you just said. You know that, right?
Explain to me why possibilities of being hyper aware and the subconscious in the medical field and knowledge we know is fallacious and aliens aren't. Go.
Because if you're assuming your experience, which is your experience, and the way you're experiencing it is the correct way to look at it. You're assuming that that's true.
To a certain point, I'm expecting that to be the answer. I don't assume that it's true. I genuinely open. My ma has raised me for 40 years telling me that they're all witches. If poor Grand is in the fucking chat, he'll confirm it. Yeah, my ma's a witch, you know. I grew up with 40 years of this shit. So I'm not going to say that this is the answer that I know is correct. I'm going to say that that's the answer that I would expect to be correct. But I would genuinely be open to it, having grown up my entire life with someone telling me that this is possible. I still don't think it's aliens.
Oh, that's fine. Perhaps I could say it this way. There's no difference between me asking the ancestors and me asking the Akashic records. It still is going to be experienced by me the same way. And it's going to be internal, and it's going to look like thoughts that came to me naturally. And there'd be no difference between that and me experiencing my subconscious. But when we start saying things like the subconscious is an emergent property, the reason we say that is because suggestions to our conscious mind come from a part of our mind that can't remember anything and cannot think. And it's electrically shown that that's where they originate, is in a part of the brain with no processing. That's the thalamus, hypothalamus area, including the pineal gland.
All right.
That's where the subconscious is. But it can't be, because that part of your brain can't remember stuff.
The idea that we think something and our brain fires a split millisecond before we are aware of the thought and all that there, and ideas come from nowhere. I haven't delved very deep into that. There's ideas of, you know, shit breaking down and atoms breaking down electrons, and it's just random chaos, you know? There's lots of different theories and ideas upon that. I don't know.
I can show electrically where this happens in the brain.
Oh yeah,
we've surveyed this. We have maps of this.
Okay. I still wouldn't say that you would be versed in it. I'd say you've read up on it. And I'd say that you could make statements on what you've read that would align with what the point you're trying to make is.
But of course I'm biased.
And then there's the bias.
Yes, but when you're a machinist at some level of experience. Now you know that millwright machines, big, large pieces of complex gears and gear ratios and motors and solenoids and all kinds of stuff, pumps, they don't have an actual personality. But if the guy who comes and he's supposed to fix your machine says to you, oh, well, this sweetheart, she's old, she's got personality. What that person is really saying is, I don't know how to explain to you what's going on. And in fact, that's because I don't know what's going on.
Sorry, my mother texted
but
me. I lost track of what you said.
But I know that if I take a wrench and I bang on this part of the machine, it changes something and the thing will work.
Right. I'll agree with you on that. The particular
I'm going to bang on the side of the jukebox to make it play my favorite song. Now, I don't know why it plays my favorite song when I do that. I just know that it's going to work. Right.
Now, I learned that the drill I used...
That's an emergent property. It's a bull crap, no answer when you don't know what it's doing.
In reference to a fucking 40-year-old drill that I know...
Doesn't matter. In reference to the human brain, it's an excuse. It's not an explanation.
Oh, the human brain is so much more complicated than a fucking drill.
Yes, and I can use the same bad thinking to talk about something much simpler.
I just want to know what... this is going to go outside my field, but I want to know what you consider to be an emergent property? What would your
A
definition?
bullcrap excuse for something you don't understand.
Which is whenever I asked a fucking person what their definition of Christianity was, and they said an ungodly person, it makes as fucking much sense as that.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain the comparison.
Because it's a stupid answer.
Okay.
Like there's probably an actual definition of what emergent property is, and they have rights and things and ways of showing it and stuff like that. But you just saying it's
no, we can see it happen electrically, and it doesn't make sense what we see, so we call it an emergent property.
Personality, when talking about machines, could mean the overall sum of the quirks that are unique to the machine, says Reg.
Yeah, fair enough. But it also means you don't understand what those quirks are.
Depends on the person.
Okay, I'm speaking in generalities. If you want to get specific, then I'll talk about my steel lathe.
I'm just saying that what you say, what you say is an emergent property is something that has happened over time, which will give a result regardless of understanding the why behind it.
Right.
Yes?
That's an emergent property.
That's your definition of an emergent property, and you used an example of the drill and why we hit it with our hip to make it work, or the jukebox to make it work.
Etc.
Right. So you're using that as a definition.
Sure. And in psychology and in like literal study of the human brain, they're doing the same thing.
Right. But your brain is your brain the way it is whenever you are born, and it gets better and develops and stuff like that. There, we develop a personality and shit like that. But the wiring and the foundation is there. It's not like we had the drill and something fell off, so we have to kick it now. It's not an individual thing. Evolution is a population thing. Okay? The idea of an emergent property is something that's happened over a long period of time, and not just flick motherfucker's ear and he goes, wah, you know.
Just show me an electrical survey of a brain thinking anything, and then show me the electrical survey of a brain where the subconscious is active. Just show me one.
I have no ability to do that right now because it's outside my field. But
no one has any ability to show a subconscious on an electrical chart of a brain where the subconscious is doing a thing.
Okay.
In sleep studies and in wake studies, it's not there.
Well, I don't know if that's possible or not. I also don't know how nonsensical that question is, because it's, or possible nonsensical, because it's not in my field. I literally...
Wait, what? Is the subconscious in the brain?
No, but
not?
I, just to make an example, you said to me, I haven't been able to show that there's any electrical firing in the subconscious when it happens. And I go and talk to someone who works in this field, and they go, well, of course not. It doesn't fire that way. We measure it this way. Right? So you're asking me for something
by experience.
So you're asking me for something that doesn't exist, where it is measurable in a different way. So it's like you saying
here's
to me,
why I'm doing
if I can finish and make my analogy, it's like you asking me to say, I want you to use carbon dating to date this thing that's 500 million years old. It's impossible to do. So I don't know if that is even possible.
Not the same thing.
But I don't know if it is.
We see synapses in the brain. It's an actual electrical signal.
I will reach out to
when the brain does something, there's a chemical electrical signal going on there. It's like literal physical. Yes. Right? Is the subconscious in the brain?
You're asking leading questions, but yes, I would consider the subconscious part of our consciousness that is created inside the brain.
Wouldn't it then require bioelectrical signal transfers?
Not necessarily. Our brain works off hormones an awful lot.
Hormones are motivators. They're not how you think.
Again, I'm answering unknowledgeable in this field, and I'm saying to you that there may also be a different way to measure how it goes. Marty is here. Marty, would you like...
when we see it do a thing, it does a thing a certain way, and we always see it do it that way.
And like I'm saying, you have no idea of anything else but carbon dating, and you're asking me to then date something that's 500 million years old, but carbon dating won't
I'm
do
not
that.
doing that.
So I no, but what I'm saying is I
use
don't know.
carbon dating to measure carbon dating.
Yeah, you use something within its field. So if the subconscious cannot be measured in the way that you are putting forth, I don't know. You're asking me leading questions, and I don't know the answer.
We know how I'll just say it as an assertion, then I won't ask any questions. We can see the brain operate electrically. When the brain operates, it operates electrically. If the brain is operating, we would see it electrically. We see no subconscious.
And from your knowledge, you think that that is correct in the way that it should work. And I'm saying that we should chat with someone who is working in that field, who would know if that's possible. Is there another way to measure the brain and the subconscious? It being the subconscious, does it work differently? And is there a way to measure it?
I have to get back to you on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That is super counterintuitive, that the brain works differently in different
and can we agree that the world and how it works is counterintuitive?
No, that's magical thinking. Electrical connections are electrical connections. In order for there to be a transfer, there has to be electrical signal transfer, period.
Would I be right in saying that I do believe there's a particular 2 different types of hormones that are released between synapses which actually trigger these electrical signals?
It's part of the process, sure.
It's part of the process, yeah. So hormones are involved. So hormones are involved. Just on my basic knowledge, I'm going to admit no knowledge, but on my basic knowledge, hormones are used to transfer information between synapses.
Which is probably what we perceive as
And the
emotions.
fact that your subconscious is your subconscious and it's going on in the background, we wouldn't want it to be firing electrical signals and making actual something that will show what's happening. You know, random synapse fires, my hand goes up in the air because it was trying to sort the problem I had yesterday. You know, we want the subconscious to be running in the background. So hormones may be a way. I don't know.
That's not the same thing. You have autonomic functions doing stuff all the time.
I was being facetious and making an extreme example.
Okay, I objected.
As you should, because it's bullshit. You're not going to get your subconscious making your arm go up in the air, but the point remains that you can have information travel in your body at a slower rate through hormones.
Okay, fine.
Marty, I sent you the link in Discord.
Peace and respect, Marty. I don't even see her in there.
Marty.
Also Maya.
Mouty.
And Christopher.
Yeah, Christopher.
Oh, Mouty. Christopher Mouty. I thought you were saying Marty like Marty Camejo.
Just 2 hours.
Yeah. I'm too English or American.
Well, I'm going to open it up anyway. We'll open it up for a wee while.
Lovely.
Yes, there's about an hour and a half to be done.
I think it's an appeal to ignorance. It's talking about things we don't know. So it's subject to ridicule right there. And what we do know that we can sense in science doesn't happen with the subconscious, and that doesn't make any sense.
So we don't know what it is, so it's aliens. God of the gaps.
No, it's not God of the gaps. I'm talking about information theory here, things that are necessarily not part of my experience. Like you never stuck your head under the dumpster, and you know you didn't because your head won't fit.
I'm going to quote Josh and go, not my field of expertise.
Yeah. Well, that's always an intelligent thing to say. It's not my area of expertise either. But if I just look at it, I'm not talking about science. I'm talking about logic here. I don't have to know all the science on brain chemistry, how all the pheromones and hormones and synapses, how all that works.
Yeah, you do.
If 100% of conscious thought is electrical and we can see it, how could you have a non-electrical thought?
I don't know. I would ask an expert in that. I wouldn't. Now, I would agree that you are taking a logical path and you're going, if X, then Y, then Z. And I understand that is a logical path that you're taking, but you're taking it under the knowledge base that you have. And you're saying that under my understanding, all conscious thought is transferred through electrical signals that are measurable.
No, all thought is what I'm saying.
You're-
It has to be.
Right, well, that's X. Y is if all conscious thought is traveled by electricity, then all subconscious thought must also be transferred by electricity. So Z, I should then therefore be able to transfer or check on electrical signals of my subconscious. X, Y, and
Yes.
Z is based on the knowledge that you have right now.
Yeah.
Right. That may be flawed. Y
If-
may be wrong. X is
Okay, if
confirmed. Y is an inference. Z is the ending. Y could be wrong.
I just think it's more solid to say this is what we see in this kind of process. In that kind of process, we should see this kind of thing, rather than appeal to an emergent property, which is a bullcrap answer.
I think it just falls to lack of understanding of it, which I will admit as well. But I don't think that just by saying
We're stuck right there right now. We're
emergent
stuck.
property is a bullshit answer. I also don't think
It is.
I also don't think there's a problem saying we don't know yet. And using
We
something.
don't know. We haven't confirmed it.
Dark matter is not dark matter. Dark matter is a name we give to something we don't understand yet, as with dark energy. Giving it a name that you disagree with does not make it a thing.
Not there. Yeah, what makes dark energy and dark matter not there is the cosmic web, and no one ever needed dark energy or dark matter, and it doesn't exist. And that's why we will never find it. That's what makes it not true.
Dark matter has had recent, I haven't checked up on it, but I seen, I think less than a week ago, some sort of evidence leaning towards dark matter or something that meme lighting and that in a person I would trust. So.
Oh, okay.
I would have to have a wee look and come back to you on particular of that. But would anyone like to come and join? If you would like to jump in and join, put a number 1, number 2, put a fucking number in that. Hey, Marty's there. Marty's on his way in. So what we will do is we will take a wee break.
I've heard good things about Mouty.
Have you not met Marty yet?
I
Marty used
haven't
to
put a face and a name together yet, so I don't know.
In saying that, he used to be the great leader, but he said literally, I think 50 times in the space of an hour the other day when we were talking. So I have left the cult and I am back being a bed heroism. Long live our great leader, Spooky Bed Her. So we will be back in about 10-15 minutes. I'm assuming from Marty saying just got to my computer, he's going to join. So thank you as always for coming in. And if I can, this is what we'll do is this is a shout out to Geo. Geo has made this for me tonight, which has been really nice. And I don't know if everyone can see this. It should be. There we go. Now, thank you, Geo.
Thank you, Geo.
I added the music. Okay,
Yeah.
I added the music, but I thought the music's good. So on that,
What a
everybody,
rush.
we'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. Richard will go get a smoke. Matty will get a cup of coffee. We'll be back in a few minutes. So on that note, people, don't forget to think for yourselves, people.
Can't believe